Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to get into something really vital in our communities, special needs housing.
That's right.
Think of this as a way to quickly get up to speed on why these kinds of living situations are so important. And, we've had great feedback before when we touched on work related to Robert Flowers and his team over at Flowers and Associates.
Yeah, they really specialize in this special needs housing, a lot of expertise there.
And listeners definitely found those discussions valuable.
Absolutely. And for anyone wanting to maybe dig a bit deeper, Robert Flowers actually wrote a book called The Joy of Helping Others.
Oh, right.
You can find it on Amazon. It gives some really good perspectives on this whole area.
Good to know. So our mission today really is to break down what special needs housing is and why it matters so much.
Exactly. So maybe to kick things off for you listening,
Yeah.
what comes to mind first when you hear that term, special needs housing?
Well, I guess at its core, it's about creating housing options, right? Specifically for people who might face barriers living completely independently.
Precisely. And that can be quite a diverse group of people we're talking about. Seniors, for instance, who might need a bit more support day to day.
Okay.
People with various disabilities, veterans transitioning back, young adults who are aging out of the foster care system.
Right.
Even people working to overcome challenges like homelessness or addiction. It's a broad spectrum.
It really is. And I think what's key, and what you often highlight, is that it's much more than just, shelter. It's not just four walls and a roof.
Absolutely. That's the crucial point. It's about intentionally creating supportive environments, places where people can manage daily life with dignity, with accessibility, and importantly, with stability.
So what does that actually look like? Can you give us some practical examples?
Sure. Well, on the physical side, it could be quite obvious things, wheelchair ramps instead of stairs, grab bars in bathrooms for safety. Maybe countertops set at a lower height in the kitchen, things like that.
Practical modifications.
Exactly. But it's also about location, as they say. Being close to necessary services, healthcare providers, reliable transportation, social programs. That proximity is vital.
Makes sense. Less isolation.
Right. And maybe one of the most important yet less visible aspects is supportive management. Having landlords or property coordinators who genuinely understand and are responsive to the residents' needs, that makes a huge difference.
You told a story before we started recording that really stuck with me about Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes. That was quite a situation. They were an elderly couple living on a very tight fixed income, and they were facing eviction from their longtime home. Just, a heartbreaking scenario.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough to connect them with a unit in an affordable senior living complex. It wasn't just affordable, it was designed with seniors in mind. Accessibility features were built in.
And there was a community feel.
A real sense of community, yes. And Mrs. Gonzalez. Well, her reaction was something I won't forget.
What did she say?
She looked at us, quite emotional, and said, "You're the kind of person God sends when we feel forgotten."
Wow.
Yeah, it just hits you, doesn't it? It really drove home that this work, providing suitable housing, it isn't just charity. It's fundamentally about justice, about recognizing people's inherent dignity.
That's incredibly powerful. Feeling forgotten and then finding that kind of support. It puts everything into perspective.
It really does.
So thinking bigger picture then, why is investing in this type of housing so critical for society as a whole?
Well, when we consciously decide to develop and support special needs housing, we're essentially building systems. Systems where individuals who might otherwise be marginalized or struggle immensely can live safely.
Okay.
They can participate more fully in their communities, access opportunities, and, ultimately thrive rather than just survive. The positive ripple effects are significant.
And it's worth mentioning, too, isn't it, that for those interested in property or investment, this sector can offer ways to generate income ethically. Doing good while doing well, so to speak.
That's certainly a component for some, yes. It aligns financial goals with social impact.
And if listeners are interested in learning more about the practicalities, maybe getting involved or understanding how organizations manage this, Flowers and Associates are a key resource.
Definitely. They have deep experience on the ground.
I believe their contact number is 901-621-3544.
That's correct, 901-621-3544. They can certainly provide more specific information.
So wrapping this up, the main takeaway seems to be that special needs housing isn't a niche issue.
Not at all. It's a vital piece of the puzzle for creating a just, supportive society. It's about tailoring environments, both physical and social, to empower people facing unique life challenges.
Right. It's about inclusion by design. So here's something to think about as you go about your day.
Yeah.
Look around your own community. How does the housing available, its design, its management, its location, how does it either actively include or perhaps unintentionally exclude people with diverse needs?
That's a really good question to ponder. How inclusive are our own neighborhoods, really?
Something to keep in mind.
Oh,
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.